Hello everyone and welcome to part 4 of our video today, our last part. And certainly there was a lot in part 3, what St. Paul had to say to us about the resurrection and about what our baptism means in that, and how an invitation is given to us and how we have to choose. We have to make a choice about our baptism. And this last section is about helping us make a choice. I suppose a good question would be for this section would be the one on our screen now. What do I need to know to help me make the best choice? What do I need to know to help me make the best choice? Now, this could be choosing anything, but we will be chatting, of course, about choosing baptism and seeing what might help us in that, in choosing the best that we can. For this part of our video, you're going to need a copy of this, what's on your screen again. Things to do before our second video session. That's what you should have got that a while back, things to do before our second video session. So if you could have that to hand, we'll be using it later. Okay, little heads up there. So the first part of this, we're going to tell a story. And the story starts, as all the stories, good stories start, a long time ago. Where? In a land far away. So a long time ago in a land far away, it happened that a poor farmer owed a lot of money to the richest man in the village. And this rich man was very sly. He was very cunning. And he'd taken a great liking to the farmer's beautiful daughter. And so the rich man, he proposed a bargain, like, let's make a deal. He proposed that the farmer's daughter would marry him, so then that the farmer's debt would be wiped clean. But the farmer and his daughter, they were horrified by this suggestion. But the rich man was insistent, and this is what he decided. He said, listen, we have to let fate decide. So he said, what we'll do is, I will pick from the ground 2 pebbles, a black pebble and a white pebble, and I will put them in a bag, and your daughter will choose, and depending on which one she chooses, this is what will happen. If she chooses the black pebble, then she will marry me and your debt will be forgiven. If she chooses the white pebble, then she does not need to marry me and your debt will still be forgiven. But if she refuses to choose at all, then you will be put into prison until your debt is paid. Now, while he was talking about all of this, the rich man did pick 2 pebbles up off the ground. But the daughter, the farmer's daughter, who was quite sharp-eyed, she noticed that he didn't do what he said he would do. He did not pick up a black pebble and a white pebble. He picked up 2 black pebbles and put them in the bag. And then he insisted, now it's time for the girl to choose a pebble. Well, what was she to do? What would you do? It seems maybe there were only three choices to her available. One is she could refuse to choose. Of course, we know what would happen then to her father. She could try to make it known that she knew the rich man was cheating, but that would be very hard to do, and it really, in the long run, wouldn't make any difference. But you just find a new way. So, or the third thing could be that she could just pick the black pebble that it seemed she had to, and marry the rich man, and her father's debt would be cleared. So, what advice would you do? So what I want you to do now, boys and girls, is just to weigh up that situation for a little while. We're going to think about it, because we're going to see now the girl is thinking about it, mulling it over, as we say. So as she's mulling it over, let's us mull it over too. Think about the consequences of her choice. If she chooses, if she doesn't choose, what will happen? Think of consequences to the choice. And so take some time now while she's mulling it over, and then we'll come back and see what you came up with. Well, my goodness, I can feel the brain power working from here. Did you come up with some kind of a decision? And what advice would you give to the girl now in the choice that she has to make? Well, here's what happened in the story, and then we'll compare it to what you came up with. In the story, this is what the girl did. The girl put her hand into the bag and picked out the pebble, which obviously had to be a black pebble, but without even looking at it, but entirely on purpose, she fumbled the pebble in her hand and it fell to the ground, and it got lost among all the other pebbles on the ground. And the girl, of course, said, "Oops, how clumsy of me. But don't worry, because if you check the bag now and see what pebble is left, well, then you will know which pebble I chose." And of course, what was the rich man to do? He couldn't admit that he'd been cheating and it was not fair what she was being asked to do. And so really, the girl, having given time to make her choice and think about it, came up with this opportunity and made what seemed like an impossibly bad choice into an incredibly great choice for her, because she got everything that she wanted. Now, boys and girls, back to you. Did any of you think of doing what the girl did? Honestly? Or your parents, maybe? Honestly? Well, maybe. But the moral of the story is this, that when we are making an important choice, we have to look at the whole picture, not the small one. Not just the immediate answer, but the long term. We have to look at what's the best choice, and in that we have to look at, well, what is truly the feeling in my heart that I want the situation to be. And that brings us back to the big choice we've been talking about all along. You know what it is by now, the choice of our baptism, the invitation of our baptism. Yes, no, what are we going to choose? We're going to see now, can we get any help in making that choice? And that's why I was asking you to take out the things to do before our second video session page. Do you remember I asked that? Have you got it with you? Excellent, fantastic. Okay, this won't take long, but let's have a go at this. Okay, if you look at the sheet there, do you see the first thing we asked you to have a look at was on this page here, and to fill in the blanks? How did you get on with that? I don't think it was too hard for you, okay, because you're all very sharp, okay? But this is what it should look like when you're done. Not a bother to you, I'm sure, so fantastic. But that was really only a warm-up for what comes next. Much more important is the next part. First, there is this picture, or this icon, as we might call it, right? And the question that is on it, and the question that we put on your sheet there, the question that goes, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? Where does that question come from? Well, that question was asked by Jesus. And it was asked by Jesus one day when he was out with his followers, and they were just thinking about things and reflecting about things, and Jesus said to his followers, his disciples, he said, who do the people say that I am? And you know, his followers were happy enough answering that. Oh, some people think you're Moses, and some people think you're John the Baptist come back to life. Some people think you're a very holy man. Some people think you're a bit off the wall now, to be fair. You know, they were able to say to Jesus what people were saying about him. But then Jesus makes it very, very personal for them, and very, like asking the question in the depths of their heart. And he asked it exactly as it is there. He said, "But you," Jesus said, "who do you say I am?" That's a different thing altogether, isn't it, boys and girls? When Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" Because he asks us, by the way, the same question, "Who do you say that I am?" And without really exaggerating, it is possible that that is the most important question ever asked in the history of the whole world. Because how we answer when Jesus asks us, "Who do you say that I am?" Do you see how we answer that affects everything? It certainly affects how we choose to live our baptism. So the question is, who do you say that I am? And if it's such an important question, that's why on your sheet there, we gave you some help in finding the answer. We asked you to Google exactly this, Matthew 16:16. Now, that's a way of how we you probably know, that's how we reference things in the Bible and the Gospel, and it brings us exactly to a particular line. But just throw Matthew 16:16 into the Googleometer, and what you should have come up with was something like this. In answer to Jesus' question, we get this. Then Simon Peter spoke up and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." You are the Christ, the Son of the living God, which I'm sure, boys and girls, is something like that you have in front of you now. So seriously well done, because what you've just done with that is so important. Why is that? Well, because as Catholics, as Christians, if we cannot answer this question for ourselves, when Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" and answer it truthfully, like Saint Peter answered it, then nothing about our Christian faith will ever really make sense. It'll often be seen as not that important, or not that engaging, or not that exciting, because we haven't answered the only way that will make our Christian faith truly alive and dynamic and on fire. The only way that will make that happen will be if we say exactly the words of St. Peter there, or something like it. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are Jesus. You are the Son of God. You are God, big word. You are God incarnate. Okay, incarnate means, among us. All right? No, and remember, here's a perfect example. Do you remember St. Paul? There he was, persecuting all the Christians because he didn't know the answer to that question. He thought Jesus was dead and just a fake. But then when he found out the answer and found out that Jesus was truly the Son of God, notice how everything in his life changed. The whole thing changed utterly, 180 degrees, totally. And his faith life became so exciting and dynamic. Now, still with us? Okay, boys and girls, everyone. That brings us to our last part of our video today. And we're going to call this part Living Our Baptism. And to figure out how living our baptism can make sense in our lives, we first have to remind ourselves of three things that we found out in our video today. The first thing we find out is this. Baptism is like a seed of love that God has planted in our heart and in our soul, and our need, if you like, is to help this seed grow. We have to nourish it. We said we have to water it with the water of life and love and faith and witness and joy and hope and all the things that are wonderful and good. We have to do that. And that will nurture and nourish the seed of baptism. The second thing we found out was from St. Paul, when he spoke about baptism. Remember these words exactly? When we were baptized, we went into the tomb with him, with Jesus, and joined him in death. so that as Christ was raised from the dead by the Father's glory, so we too might live a new life. Now, there's a lot, of course, in that, as we saw, but we did have a look at it, and I think we have an idea now what it might mean for us, that it's about an invitation. It's an invitation to share in the victory of Jesus over death, to share in the life of paradise, the life of heaven, which begins now, not sometime in the future. So we found that out. And the third thing we found out is that in helping us to make the choice, do we choose to live our baptism in that way, or what do we choose to do with this gift of baptism? And we found out that the way to get an answer in a very, very, very helpful way, probably the best answer, is to figure out, how do we answer this question that Jesus asks us? Who do you say that I am? And everything depends on how we choose to answer that question and understand how we can answer that question. Who do you say that I am? St. Peter, we know, answered it right. You're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And we can find it, if we can find it in our heart to give something of the same sort of an answer. I mean, remember, Peter had spent every day for years with Jesus, so he knew maybe more than we would, but still, we should know enough in our life and our faith life and in everything, our experiences, to give sort of an answer to what that question is that Jesus asks us. Who do you say that I am? And if we answer it in something of the way that St. Peter answered it, and St. Paul for that matter, then our Christian faith will start to come truly, truly alive. Okay, we will be living our baptism. We will be living our baptism. Which brings us last question for today. Very practical question, boys, girls, adults, parents, everyone. How do we know? How do we know if we are living our baptism? Or at least getting better at it every day? How do we know? And do you remember this from our things to do before our second video session page? Do you remember this one? Yeah, how did you get on with it? Well, this is a very, very important page, or exercise, or journey. Journey is a much better word, because what we asked you to do was to find the right word for the right space. So let's look at the first one. Knowing about Jesus Christ, and of course you put in the box, the opposite of that is knowing Jesus Christ. Now, we saw with St. Paul that it's a 180-degree difference. Knowing about Jesus Christ is knowing some things, knowing facts, knowing second-hand knowledge. It does not excite our heart. It's all in our head, and it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference whether we know these things or don't know these things about Jesus. But the second answer there, knowing Jesus, that's like we often said, you know, about, like, it's like falling in love. Do you know how it is when our heart is in love and we trust and we just have a sense of just this belonging, and that Jesus is for us everything. But maybe the thing to know about faith is that how does Jesus see us? Jesus sees us as everything. Jesus sees you as everything, and always will. Loves you more than the whole world. Ever before, the Bible tells us, the world was created, Jesus loved you and me. So let's go to the next one there. Religion. And the opposite of religion is faith. All right. Religion, again, is about facts and figures and doing. You know, but faith is about living and surrendering our lives into the love of another who surrenders in a way their life into us. So it's about that cycle, that circle of love and that trust and that oneness, that of being in love. That's what faith is. Religion, another thing, just things to do. Which brings us to the third one there. A thing to do, and the opposite of that is a life to lead. A thing to do is like, You know, oh, the baby's born, we better get the baby baptized. Oh, we're in second class, we better make Holy Communion. Oh, we're in sixth class, we better make confirmation. But they're just things to do. And just doing them on their own, well, that doesn't really make an awful lot of sense in terms of faith, as we were talking about. Okay. But a life to lead. Now, that's when we come to know who Jesus is in our lives and who we are in the life of Jesus. That's how we come to know that it's about a life that we want to lead. It's about faith is about falling in love, right? Faith is about falling in love, which brings us to the next one. The least necessary, and the opposite, of course, is the most possible. The most possible. Do you know when we're really excited by something or really interested in something, really wanting, we don't just want to do the very least necessary, we want to do the most that is possible to do it. Okay. And even as something as simple as, playing on our local football team or something. If we really love playing football and we really love playing our part and showing our skills, can you imagine saying, I couldn't be bothered? No, because we're so excited about it and we want to do our very best, and we're animated is a big word. You can check that if you like. Animated to do the very best we can do. And this is what living a life of faith is about. Living our baptism is about. It's about doing the most possible. Okay? And the last one then, very particular to you boys and girls at this time, is confirmation. What is confirmation? It's one of those two things. Confirmation is about what we do, or confirmation is about what God does for us. Which do you think? I know it's a bit of a trick question, but of course, confirmation is not about what we do. Confirmation, like baptism and like Eucharist and like everything in our life that is good and wonderful. Confirmation is a gift that is given to us by God. It's a gift that God has chosen very specially to give to us who are baptized. And now it's been given to us in a way that out of extraordinary love that we cannot imagine. But it's been given to us very, very, very particular reason. And it's been given to us, as we will find out at another time when we're looking particularly at confirmation. The gift of confirmation is given to us so that we can live our baptism. We can truly live it with excitement and joy and fire and passion, and do all those things we said before about being proud to be a follower of Jesus, about being proud of being a Christian, about having the courage to stand up for what we believe, and about, like what we said about when we're back at Mass again, bringing your gifts and your talents, because if you're not there, we miss you. We miss what you bring. It's like your piece of the jigsaw is missing. So we need everybody to become part of what we do as a parish and really, really bring life and joy to living our baptism. And so, boys and girls, that brings us to the end. And there's only there just that last reflection sheet to finish up on your own reflection sheet. I want to thank you really, really sincerely for your time and for your effort. You can look back over parts of this video if you like. I hope you've seen that for us as believers, it's an important thing to know about what baptism is and how we're called to live it. All right. Remember the question: what was different about your life after you were baptized than before you were baptized? I wonder, has this been any help to you in understanding that? All right. And certainly how we answer the question when Jesus asks us, who do you say that I am, will truly help us answer that question. Listen, keep safe, continue to keep safe, mind yourselves, mind everyone else. All right. And thank you for all your effort today. You have done fantastically, and you are doing fantastically. All right. So God bless everyone, and thank you.